Mobile home owners being forced to build their homes 10 feet high on top of cinder block foundations, how you can potentially get your hands on over $200 million of mobile home grant money, and a mobile home and a single family home had a baby. What would that look like? We're going to talk about that and much more on today's extra large mobile home news in-depth video. If you like these extra large videos, hit that like button so YouTube knows that you like these big videos, and you'll get more of them as we put them out, so I can educate you on the most interesting mobile home news around the country that pertains to people that are weird and that like mobile homes, just like you and me do. Let's jump into this. Our first news article comes from Horizon Land Management. This is a company that many of us, if we're familiar with mobile homes, we're familiar with Horizon. They have mobile home parks across the United States, as you can see right here. And allegedly, well, more than allegedly, the firm has to pay. They've been fined $1.1 million. This has been going on for like 7 years, since 2016, it looks like, when they've been dumping, purposefully or non-purposefully, into the Pawtucket River system, watershed, this wastewater that should have been treated. This is a wastewater treatment plant. Some mobile home parks have wastewater treatment plants. So instead of the wastewater from the toilet, from the shower, going to the city for the city to process it, and instead of the wastewater going into a septic tank, it is actually going into what you see right here, a sewer wastewater treatment plant that's supposed to be treated, but it apparently wasn't. And for years, it's been dumping into the Pawtucket River system. Here's a guy looking, I don't know what that smells like right there, but look at the, water that's coming right from the mobile home park that potentially contains solids. The news article says the EPA inspectors reported seeing solids and brown scum on the surface of supposedly treated wastewater near where it was being discharged into Pawtucket tributaries. I'd like to hear from you. Do you think that $1.1 million is enough? Or for big businesses, it's just sort of the cost of doing business, and then things like this will just continue happening? I don't know. I'd love to hear your comments down in the comment section. The next article is a person that is not in love with their mobile home. This is a man accused of setting a mobile home on fire twice during an eviction, which definitely has something that I have seen before through, not personally, but other folks that I know have bought mobile home parks and then have had to evict a number of people that were not the right fit for the community, that weren't paying, that were dealing drugs. And yeah, they light their homes on fire. Or an ex-manager coming back and lighting homes on fire. Hopefully, in the examples I'm thinking of, nobody was hurt. The homes were vacant. And this gentleman, 48-year-old, this is from Michigan, who the guy's being extradited to New York State. Interesting, he's charged with arson of an insured dwelling, a felony punishable by life in prison, which I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, you could kill somebody for sure, and you can be punished and set to life in prison. I feel like you can do other things in the United States that are worse than arson, and you don't get life in prison. Maybe that's just me. I'd love to hear your comments down below. But the guy should obviously go away, and that is a person that did not love their mobile home. The next news article is a really uplifting story. It's about a young couple that are sort of being bashed on social media, but they don't care. They are happy that they're only 19 years old. They bought a house on Facebook Marketplace. Yes, it's a mobile home for less than £30,000, which I don't know how much that is in real money. But they were tired of throwing money away in rent. And this is a wonderful article. Look, they're like bragging on social media. Good for them. This is what the world needs more of, is people actually with some common sense saying, I have a dwelling, I own something. This isn't a rented park, but they're 19 years old. Now they own it. And this article goes on to say, here's the couple, Bree is her name, here's to not throwing away rent money every single month. And then you have people like haters commenting, ooh, y'all bought a mobile home? Those aren't modern, those are trashy. But a lot of people came to their rescue. There's comments like, a home is a home, it doesn't matter what kind it is. Some mobile homes are absolutely gorgeous. I can't talk today. Great job renovating the home. And the fact that y'all own a place is a milestone in itself. My parents, who lived in a mobile home in a park before they had enough money to put a down payment on a house with land. And this is great. They're 19 years old, they own something. It is a stepping stone to something, that maybe the stepping stone to a different mobile home, or probably owning land and then having some kind of home on it. I love the before and after with the simple painting the cabinets and putting on the hardware, it looks really nice. I like the white versus the natural wood color, more modern. Good for them. In our next article, if you can smell what The Rock is cooking, it is negativity. Luckily, his comment about The Rock calling Salt Lake City a bunch of inbred trailer trash is just as fake as the WWE wrestling itself. However, the negativity really doesn't help. I think most of us in the real world knows that negativity, negative headlines spread faster than positivity. And most people don't like to be called trailer trash, even though that's such a small portion of people in mobile homes to be considered trashy. Whereas people in houses and in million-dollar homes, they can be just as trashy. So it's not, there's bad apples everywhere. So don't love the article. I still love The Rock, but this isn't great. But, you know, it's for the, it's just stir up a controversy. And when you're in Salt Lake City and want to talk trash, I guess you're kind of punching low when you, insult the people that live in mobile homes and mobile home parks. Let's go up to Maine with the Portland Express Herald and the Maine Millennial on mobile homes. Let's move on with the times. This is a common theme on this channel, the stigma of mobile homes. And have you ever wondered why there aren't more mobile homes next to single-family homes? When you see single-family houses, it's a lot of single-family houses. And when you see mobile homes on land, it's usually a lot of mobile homes on land. Mobile homes on land with the land attached outside of parks, mobile homes on a piece of land, acre of land, half an acre of land, quarter an acre of land. They're sort of social creatures or segregated creatures. Mobile homes need to be near mobile homes, and houses need to be sort of near houses. And that's because of zoning. And this article, there's a bill, like there always is some kind of bill put on around the country of we want more to amend the local zoning laws to allow mobile homes and manufactured homes on single family lots, which I would love to see. That would help with affordable housing. It would get more people in housing cheaper. Granted, manufactured homes these days aren't extremely cheap, but it would help. It would help. And usually this article goes on to say what many of us know, it's the stigma. The monster is the stigma. People are NIMBY, they're not in my backyard. And although we, as humans, say we want more mobile homes around us, many of us know that if mobile homes move in, that might lower the desirability of the neighborhood. Which I think if mobile homes were allowed to be almost anywhere, then everybody, it would kind of wash out and everyone would be on a level playing field. So you wouldn't just say, well, it's in my backyard, it's in your backyard, it's in all of our backyard. And we could then go from there on the same level playing field that, okay, mobile homes can be next to houses, whether it's a small house, whether it's $1 million house. And then this article also says that when you ask the opposition, the people that don't want mobile homes next to houses or to change the local zoning laws, and this is mostly in city incorporated limits, outside of the city and the county, there's usually less regulation because there's not a board of directors, there's not a committee official, like for the city officials, there aren't people that care as much in the county. You can kind of do what you want in the county. But when you're in city limits, when you're in incorporated areas, you have to pull permits. And usually the opposition will say, most people will hem and haw and maybe say something about safety, even though manufactured homes are built to strict safety standards, or they'll say something about the neighborhood character, as if mobile homes weren't pretty enough. And I agree, that's very common. For example, here in East Texas, the Texas Tribune has an article, Lufkin, Texas. You have a wonderful homeowner here whose home burned down after 50 years. This woman's home burned down, Rita Cromer, and she wanted to put a new manufactured home on her lot where her house was. And the city said, no, no, no. And she lobbied the city to then get manufactured homes approved in the city. Good for Rita. That's awesome. She was able to put a new manufactured home on her lot, and then less than a year later, they rescinded that. So the city went from saying no mobile homes in the city walls, and then it said, okay, we will allow them in, and then there was a hem and haw or hubbub commotion created, and it was the end of the world. And so she got mad. 2 years later, the city council reinstated that ban. And she says, the more I think about this ban, the madder that I get. City leaders in recent interviews have said the decision to reinstate the ban was done with the city's growth in mind. How thoughtful of them. Which, that doesn't make any sense, but mobile home do pay less taxes. You're typically paying more taxes by how much your home is worth, and the city will collect less revenue because that's what it's all about, the almighty dollar, that the city wants to make more money. So the more expensive homes they can have in their city, as if Lufkin is like some huge, multi-million-dollar area, which actually is what this article goes on to say. Like, remember our roots, people. And so anyway, I just thought that was interesting, and that's sort of human nature. And so as much as I want more cities to embrace manufactured housing, now, right now, Lufkin, you can only place mobile homes inside pre-existing mobile home parks, not on land, only in pre-existing mobile home parks, of which this city only has 5. Now, if you live in New York, I would love to hear your comments down below. This is a new bill targeting RVs and mobile home removal from residential streets in New York City, which they say mobile home. I'm assuming that means a home that's on some type of vehicle. I don't think there's actually mobile homes the way we usually mean them. Plop down, mobile home. If you live in a car, I suppose that is technically a mobile home, your mobile home. What do you think about that? I have been to cities, San Francisco, Los Angeles, New York City, where there are just rows and rows and rows. You can't find parking because there's so many people living in RVs, which, I couldn't imagine having to live in an RV full time and you choose to be on the side of the road. You have to be. Maybe that's folks that can't afford to live somewhere else and they work in the city and that's their last option. I don't know. I don't live in New York City or any of those other big cities like I mentioned, so I'm kind of curious. What are your comments or your thoughts, for the better, for worse? I'd love to hear them down below. Now imagine if a mobile home and a single family home had a baby. That's what Clayton Mobile Home Builder is trying to do. They're called Crossmods. Does that sound better than manufactured home? Crossmod. We live in a Crossmod. I can't imagine that catching on a lot. But these Crossmods, if you look at them, it even sounds weird to say, they look really nice. Super high pitched roof, vinyl siding, which pitched roof and vinyl siding is normal, but they look like a house. It's not that traditional, just rectangle shape. It looks odd, sort of like a house. It's got the steps up to the landing. It's got a nice 2-car garage. That driveway looks really nice. This looks like a really nice home. I mean, you drive past it and think this was a house. Looks like it's on a foundation, like stucco foundation. And there's a couple things, that inside looks beautiful. There's a few things in this article that I think are interesting. It is the cost. It is where they can be placed, which we've been talking about on this video, and the financing. Let's first talk about the cost, which just for the home itself, now these are both double wides. They're not smaller homes. They're considered double, but they start at over $250,000, $285 right now for this new Clayton Crossmod. And then if you want the bigger one, that's almost $400,000 for this property, which, I mean, if you're going to do that, you kind of might as well do a site-built home. Now, where can these be placed? These can't be placed everywhere, and this article goes on to say that one of our industry's challenges has been gaining zoning allowances for off-site built homes, which off-site built homes can even be modular homes, which are very common, that have been around for years, but is gaining zoning allowances for off-site built homes or more generally within a wider variety of residential areas. Our industry has been working closely with multiple municipalities across the country to educate community leaders and the public on Crossmod homes. It doesn't roll off the tongue. Crossmod homes, and ensure the right zoning allowances are in place. So it even says our industry is working closely with municipalities, which is great. Manufactured home industry does have lobbyists and people working with Washington and with municipalities across the country apparently, but it is an uphill battle to allow off-site built homes onto, like we were talking about earlier, next to single-family site-built homes. So where can they be placed? Not everywhere. Right now, it seems like it's the same requirements. You can't, I mean, these are considered manufactured homes by local municipalities much of the time. Now, when it comes to financing, it does seem like the FHA, Federal Housing Administration, appraisal guidelines is helpful. New appraisal guidelines issued by the FHA vastly improve the valuation criteria for Crossmod homes. With FHA's updated policy, Crossmod homes are now appraised alongside site-built homes and other Crossmods instead of older off-site homes without Crossmod features. So it seems as if they will be appraised for houses or next to houses. If a house, if you're on a residential street and there's a bunch of houses and for some reason you are able to put a Crossmod there, your Crossmod will be able to be appraised based on the sales of these other houses. If it's a similar size and square feet and bedrooms, then all of them should be similar, which might help with that not in my backyard feeling. They look better. It won't bring the value of the neighborhood down potentially, depending on how long these last, if they really are a good long-lasting product. These kind of just came out. So these are interesting. And then again with Washington in mind, this is the Federal Register, Title I manufactured home loan limits have increased, which should have been done a few years ago. But FHA financing, if you're going to get an FHA loan for a manufactured home, they've upped the limits. With a single wide mobile home, the previous limits were $69,000 and change, and now the new limits are $106,000 for the single family manufactured home section. So you can buy a single wide manufactured home, and FHA will finance up to this amount. Double wide is almost $200,000, and then it's also with land as well. So it can be the mobile home by itself or the mobile home with the land together. So that's pretty awesome. This should have happened years ago, but it's now catching up, and these are about the prices of what manufactured homes are these days. They're not really that cheap anymore. Everything's going up in price, but it's nice to see that the Washington and the lobbyists for manufactured homes are working to make it more affordable for folks to get FHA loans, which you can get a conventional loan on a manufactured home, but then you're putting down 20%. The interest rates are a lot higher. If you can qualify for an FHA loan, the down payment is way, way, way lower, and then the interest rate is typically considerably lower as well, because FHA is backing that loan. This is pretty cool. The Price Preserve and Reinstatement Initiative for Community Enhancement. This is a competition of sorts. And let me tell you who is eligible. State and local governments, tribes, TDHEs, which I'm not sure what that stands for, multi-jurisdictional entities, resident-controlled parks and cooperatives, nonprofits, tribal nonprofits, and a few other organizations. But if your city or county or mobile home park, if it is resident owned, wants to go ahead and submit an application, you could get a piece of this $200+ million grant money that will be the first of its kind. And the proposed purpose is the preservation and revitalization of manufactured housing and manufactured housing communities. So that's great. It can go to helping the mobile homes. It can go to help the parks. This is a wonderful thing. This is nice and really awesome to see. Again, it's nice to see states and the country, and in this situation, Maine, getting $10 million from federal grant money for heat pumps on mobile homes. I can't imagine how cold it is in Maine, sometimes of the year, like now, although this has been an oddly warm winter in most places. They're getting heat pumps, which it says right here will support the installation of heat pump systems in almost 700 households, as well as workforce training for local installers. $10 million helping 700 households. I guess $10 million doesn't go that far. I would hope that would help way more people. Heat pumps don't seem, well, I guess when you're putting in the ductwork and you're having to maybe re-insulate the homes, that does sort of take up, what does that break down to? $10 million divided by 675, $14,000. That seems like a lot. $14,000 for ductwork and heat pump and new installation to helping, I think you can get that down to like half of that. You should be able to help close to 1,300 people or 1,400 people. But when the government's involved, the money isn't probably spent 100% well. And it does say that it will help to train workforce training for local installers. So who knows how much that costs. But good to see nonetheless that more focus is being placed to help folks in manufactured housing, the folks that probably need the most help. At least these 700 people almost will be able to not have to freeze or be super cold this winter. Let me know what you think, if this is a good use of that money, and if more states could benefit from that. Love to hear your comments down below. This is a weird one. In Boise, Idaho, mobile home parks now they have 15 days before they sell a property to alert the local mobile home park community association. Currently, if residents organize in a mobile home community association in hopes of owning that community themselves, first of all, the organization, so all the park residents form a mobile home park community association. Once a year, they can ask the park owner, hey, can we buy your park? The owner of the park doesn't have to sell, or doesn't have to sell to them by any means, but this law that it did pass on the House floor, it does require that the owner gives residents a chance to make their own offer to preserve low-cost housing option in Idaho, which I think that is good. I mean, Price says, the author here says that the bill doesn't require the landowners to sell the property to the Mobile Home Park Association or to stop any sales, but it does require that the that the park owner do alert the home association, if the residents have formed an association, give them 15 days to say, hey, we are going to sell this park, which, I mean, that's kind of like common courtesy. I mean, it's crazy that we need laws sometimes, and it's in Idaho, but we need laws that say, do the right thing. And if you're going to sell a park, give it, if the residents can buy it, why not? They're probably going to pay, they're going to pay the same amount or more because they want to live there. And I mean, I don't know, just to me, it doesn't seem like it even needs to be a law, but apparently it does. And good for them. Good for the residents. They have, now it says the whole idea behind it is to prompt the landowner to take into consideration the association and their wishes. It's just adding language to try to get the landowner to participate in the association's wish to purchase the land, which can take a while. If I've heard things correctly, if the residents form an association and they try to buy the park itself, it is going to take longer than just somebody that has more of the means that can just pay cash. That sale is going to go by super quick. Or even somebody with the means that is going to go through more traditional bank financing. When homeowners of the homes in the park, they want to buy their park together and form like a cooperative. They typically have to get grant money. They have to have bridge loans. It is definitely an uphill battle, and it might not always go through. So then the landowner who wants to sell the park, and if the people that are trying to buy it fail, then that landowner is back to square one, and now they're relisting the park, which, depending on the time of the year, it may be a better time to sell, prices may be up, it may be a worse time to sell. Imagine being in a mobile home park, and then all of a sudden the local county, because of flood zoning maps changing, now you have to go ahead and raise your mobile home, which is probably from the 60s or 70s, that if you try to raise this thing up, it is falling apart. You have to raise it up 10 feet or more to comply with local flooding maps, which, to be honest, apparently in Pinellas County, let's go to a map of Florida and zoom in, which this park is right by the water. And apparently in the last 10, 20 years, it has flooded more than 5 times. This article goes on to say that people keep redoing and redoing and redoing their floors. They get FEMA money and insurance money again and again and again, which is probably one of the reasons Florida, a lot of the insurance companies have pulled out of Florida. But they have to elevate them more than 10 feet. And it's interesting because the county this is in Pinellas County, told these residents that they have to leave by this June, but they're not forcing them out. That the letter says you have to leave, but then also if you read the article, the city and the county is not forcing them to leave unless the home is condemned, unless it's not safe to be there. So really what's probably going to happen is the next flood that happens, if these homes do get ruined, then the city can come in and say, this is condemned, this is condemned, this is condemned, and you can't be here, which is terrible. I mean, the people don't have the option to fix them up themselves. People in the park don't seem that happy anyway reading this article, but this is just doesn't show everybody in the article. And it's going to make them tough to sell. Who's going to want to buy this mobile home, or the mobile home park for that matter, when homes now have to be built up way higher and it's just no one, these people are kind of trapped between, they can't sell, they can't really stay there. The article does say that the county participates in a national flood insurance program, which means it has adopted federal floodplain regulations in exchange for having flood insurance available to the community. So The residents are going to get a little bit of help. The county's floodplain manager, Lisa Foster, said it's in the residents' best interest to elevate or relocate before next hurricane season. The premises for the requirements are logical. We're trying to protect people. Ultimately, that's the end goal because we don't want them to repetitively flood, especially these individuals. They have more trouble than others, in some cases, to be able to get back up on their feet after a flood. Since the notices were sent out, the county says it has helped residents apply for low-interest disaster loans through the U.S. Small Business Administration and Individual Assistance. In 2024, there is a program for My Safe Florida Home Program will only allow low and moderate income households to apply during a 60-day window after July 1st. They can receive up to $10,000 on home improvements such as hurricane windows or new roofs, which doesn't seem to go into building up the property 11 or 10 feet. And these people are between a very big rock and a hard place. I'm not going to sure what's going to happen with them, but I will keep you tuned. So make sure to subscribe to this channel to learn more. And then our last story is, again, folks caught between a rock and a hard place. In Wabash County in Indiana, there's a mobile home park owner not paying their water bill. So the water is in the mobile home park is in the county limits, which really doesn't matter if it's in the city or the county, but it's master metered, which means that instead of the residents having individual meters on their mobile homes and individual water accounts with the city, so if the people in the house, they stop paying their water bill, the city could shut off their water. But because it's the whole park, and the park is the one getting all of the water, like the full water bill, and then the owner of the park can charge the people either individually or separately or meter the homes. Well, that landowner has been receiving water and hasn't paid a almost $13,000 water bill. And so the city is just going to shut off water for these people, lose water service in the next few weeks. So that is something that definitely happens around the country that a lot of us don't even think about. People that are living their best life, living their best lives at the time or their lives and are doing nothing wrong, paying their bills, living peacefully, improving their mobile homes, and then all of a sudden might be kicked out of their properties because they don't have any running water. So awful. I assume that this will be addressed somehow because unless the park is dramatically losing money, there has to be a way to fix this. But maybe that's just my positivity trying to just fight for these people. Terrible about the landowner not paying their water bill like this. Granted, I don't know if there's just a ton of leaks, if the people in the park haven't been paying their lot rent. Maybe if the park is making $0 and nobody's paying, then the park can't really pay for the water. But it's a business, and this park kind of should have thought of this, and that's one of the reasons the park owner has to think about these things ahead of time. But that is the mobile home news around the country, the most interesting articles I thought. Please, I'd love to hear your comments, what you like, what you didn't, what you agreed with. I gave some of my opinions, and I'd love to hear yours down below. If you liked what you heard, like and subscribe this or share it to other people, and we will have more of these in the next coming weeks and months. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.